Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kaufman. Yes, I'm Martin Schell. I'm the Chair of Visual and Performing Arts and the Director of the Theater Program. And we do always love this event every year. We usually get to present it live in Fuller Arts. Last year, nothing happened, so this is great. That this year, we have a chance to share the work of our students. Students in visual and performing arts are always busy with projects and events, all kinds of play productions, dance concerts, musical performances. Our visual artists and digital artists also have exhibits. Tomorrow, Tuesday, at the Common Hour, that's when you'll be able to see work of our visual artists and digital artists. And we also have art therapists who use their skills in art making to help others in some difficulties of various kinds find ways to give expression to their feelings. So we're delighted that today we have some of our visual and performing arts students who are going to represent a range of creativity with their presentations. Aesthetic expression's always been a vital and essential element of human social experience and a very powerful tool of investigation of the world, both the world we feel and hear and see and the worlds inside and beyond us. So our students aren't really in an ivory tower. They're very aware of the social context of their work and the relevance of their work. They do research into the culture of a composer of a piece of music, for example, or into the issues of social justice that you might wrestle with through dance, or into other times and places and worlds that can tell stories about foolishness and hypocrisy that might still be entertaining and instructive to us today. So I'm very happy to sort of pass the ball now to Professor Sarah Zender, the Program Director of Dance, and she will introduce our first presenter.
Thank you, Martin. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So it's my pleasure to introduce Cynthia Duran, who is a junior majoring in both dance and recreational therapy. Cynthia is presenting choreographic research, which is a work in progress, which will be performed live at our drive-in dance concert, April 23rd and 24th. So Cynthia is going to both show a video of this work as well as speak about it. And Cynthia, thank you for your willingness to share your research, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that lovely introduction. I just wanted to say that this piece is a work in progress and is entitled Dejado Atrás, which translates to Left Behind. The music is by Johnny Cash, the song Hurt, and my dancer, who is here, Angelina Cohen. And the project you are about to see is more of a dance film, and we will be performing it live. So just keep in mind that this is a film. And I would like for us to watch it and to come back and discuss. Thank you very much.
So I've pasted the link so that we can watch it in real time. If everyone just makes sure they're muted, we'll take a look at the piece and then come back for the rest of the discussion.
Great, thank you. So I just kind of wanted to start this by saying the piece that you watch was inspired by loss and grief. I first wanted to talk about this because it's very relevant to what's going on right now with COVID, and a huge amount of people are passing away every week, around 2,000 a week, and death is happening too often. I feel like we're becoming desensitized, and this topic came up often when I was younger, and I couldn't quite express how I felt back then, and I still have some difficulty with it, hence why I created this piece, Dejado Atrás.
Okay, I did it.
So while creating this piece, I utilized different repetition, rhythm, space, and touch to further my intention and to create a clearer picture. Through research that was coming from my dancer and I was able to generate movement. So I asked questions surrounding loss and what that meant to my dancer and to myself. So for example, she wrote the first things and the first words that came into her head, as I did. For instance, the word gut I referenced. And in that, I used the word gut to create the tactile movement that you saw and reoccurring things as a motif as it continued throughout the piece. So, yes, while I was filming, I thought it was very important to think about the angles because dance for film is very different in person and live. So, to create my message, I recorded specifically in the beginning, for example, while she was doing this tactile movement from behind, because I wanted the audience to experience something, to witness something that this dancer was going through, not necessarily, not necessarily you're in it with her, but you're witnessing this, and that connection that we have through this same emotion that we feel is universal in our human experience. So these are just some things that I was thinking about as I continue to work on this piece. And because it is a work in progress, I am curious to know what any of you have seen or anything that stood out, any questions that arose while you were watching. I also have the dancer here if you would like to ask any questions. Yes, Justine.
Thank you, Cynthia. That was amazing. And I just love hearing about the process and how, the dancer and Angelina, the dancer, are included in that. I'm curious to hear too about the setting and what your decision-making process was and around the location. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that question. That was very difficult, actually, coming up with a location. I was looking around, specifically around campus, to see where it would fit my intention. So Sarah, I was asking her about it, and the concept of dirt and being dirty and grit is something that she said, and something to keep in mind while looking for the location. So I had various ideas of what I wanted to do. I was thinking, how dirty can I get my dancer? And I was like, maybe just take some soil and put it on her body. But we thought through that. So the place that we recorded this and filmed it was like this little sandy spot. It took some time and effort because we had to clean it around and make sure it was safe. However, I really enjoyed the movement that the sand gave to the piece. It portrayed kind of the internal feelings I can't quite express, but so very human and like just, yes. Thank you for that question. Yes, Matt, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that was something that I really enjoyed was the setting. I think that it does capture this. The setting has a kind of desolate quality to it, which fits with the theme of loss. So I appreciated that. And then with the wind blowing, sometimes it would come up, and I thought it added a lot to it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Alex.
Hi, first of all, nice job, you two. It's really beautiful to see that. There were two things that stuck out for me as an added layer to this. One of them was how masked you were, Angelina, not only in your mask, but your hair as well. And it brought this sort of anonymity to the character of like, this is all human beings. So that was really beautiful and striking. And then the movement that's very sudden, like the, sharp and stagnated. I was thinking about how that reminded me of, digital freeze when we freeze on Zoom. And so again, there was so these layers came in of, right, like all of this death happening to all of these people that we, a lot of them we don't know, and some of them we do know. So these layers of closeness, and then again anonymity, and then and how we experience each other now as human beings in this digital format, and that then compared to, right, the being in the sand and the earthiness, and when we die we return to the earth, so that all of these sort of counterbalances were really striking for me. That's a comment, not a question.
Thank you. I just want to say the hair, I thought about it a lot. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted at first. I felt as if braids kind of took away from it because I wanted movement. I wanted kind of like this frenzy kind of feeling. And then I thought of a half up, half down because I wanted her face to be shown. And then I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if her face is shown because it's what is it? What is it? I really just want to show the intent and connection. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I also noticed Martin's hand before.
Oh, yeah, so I'm echoing what others have said, but I had a curiosity about, I know you said it's a work in progress and that you intend for it to be part of the drive-in concert. So
Yeah.
it seems that's going to be a challenge because certainly the sand, and what ideas do you have of how you will translate your creation to another environment?
That is a great question. So I felt as if the sand in itself gave a kind of struggle. I know Angelina dancing on the sand had a very difficult time. Dancing on sand is hard, and the turns. So I kind of want to keep that struggle because it did add to the piece. And that's something I want to work on and is a note that I will continue to have. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure because it will be presented on stage. It's something to think about. Thank you.
I thought it was terribly moving and awesome. So I'm sure you'll continue to make it better. I just want to make sure that we keep our program moving. So should we move on to our next presenter? And so thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Is Chris here to introduce Chloe's piano piece?
Yep, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Let me know if you can or can't hear me. I'm worried about my internet connection right now, but I'll give it a go. So my name is Chris Gagne. I'm really excited, and I have the privilege of introducing Chloe Campalone, who will be presenting a musical work here at Scholars in Action this year. Chloe is a physical therapy major and a music minor who anticipates graduating in 2022 with a bachelor's in health science and looks forward to also pursuing a doctor of physical therapy degree shortly thereafter. And I mentioned Chloe is a music minor, so over the course of her time at Springfield College, she sought ways to incorporate music and music appreciation into her physical therapy studies, which I think is a really interesting bridge between those two worlds. And she'll talk a bit about that in the video that we're going to share. So this is a pre-recorded video that we're going to share here in a moment. I just want to say a quick word about the piece that Chloe will be performing. She'll obviously explain in greater detail, but the piece is a work by Gabriel Fauré, a late 19th, early 20th century French composer. And the piece that Chloe will be performing is called In Paradisum, which translates to Into Paradise. It's the final movement of Fauré's Requiem, which he finished composing right at the turn of the century in 1900 or so. He spent about a decade composing and working on it before then. So the Requiem compositional form is designed to roughly pair with what would have been known as a Requiem Mass or a Mass for the Dead, a funeral Mass, sort of a last rite of passage in the Roman Catholic tradition and other denominations as well. And many composers wrote requiems to sort of explore the subject of death and passage into a spiritual world. So Mozart wrote a very famous requiem, other composers as well. So in the case of this movement, this piece by Fauré, this is the last movement of a requiem. So it's in Paradisum, which is meant to explore the sort of the journey of a soul from earth into the heavens, into paradise. So I'm excited to share with you Chloe's performance of the piece, her discussion on the preparation required to perform the piece, sort of from a technical and creative perspective, and also a short conversation on the way music can be applied to the field of physical therapy. And there'll also be a Q&A after this video with Chloe. Okay, so without further ado, here is Chloe Campalone.
So Chris, I'm going to screen share this. If you feel like it compromises it, and if there's a lag or something, you can just unmute and let me know, and I'll share it in the chat, and people could watch it individually.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Chloe Campalone, and the piece I will be playing for you today is entitled In Paradisum by Gabriel Fauré. This piece is the culmination of 2 semesters worth of work. There are a lot of challenges along the way. When I first learn a piece, I go through the left and right hand independently. I learn the notes and get them down in my fingers. This song is especially challenging as the right hand is technically playing both a melody and an accompaniment part. And since there are no singers, I am playing the pitches of what they would normally sing, as well as the piano part. You'll hear the melody notes emphasized in the right hand, while also hearing the associated notes follow along, a little quieter than the melody. And this took a lot of work on my end, as I had to make sure I was playing the melody loud enough in some fingers, while also keeping the harmonies a little softer in the other fingers of my right hand. The next part I work on when learning a new piece is rhythm. I listen to variations of the song and make sure that I'm playing the correct rhythm with the notes I just learned. Next, I work on including the damper pedal into the piece. This is how I demonstrate the feelings of peace and floating. Now, the damper pads on a piano usually stop noise from ringing out when I take my hands off the keys, but when I press on the damper pedal, the sound rings out, giving it a floating, almost heavenly sound. I'll show you right now. This piece requires dedicated time spent on the damper pedal. We want the notes to ring out in a heavenly way, but holding on for too long could make the sound blend too much with the next verse and cause an unfavorable sound. So after including the damper pedal, it is time to put on the finishing and possibly most important touches on this piece, which is my personal expression. Personal expression through music is a subject I have focused on throughout my entire career as a music minor. As a pianist, we don't want to mess with the original intentions a composer has communicated through their piece, but we also want to express it in a way that's meaningful to us. Personally, I wanted to tell the story that Fauré envisioned. I wanted to convey the movement of a soul to paradise and the experience of total tranquility. So when you listen to this, imagine floating through the clouds and feel a sense of warmth and peace wash over you. It's an honor to play in Paradisum for you today, and I hope you enjoy. But before I go, I wanted to express just how important music can be for any aspect of your life. The music minor will benefit me not only as a physical therapy student, but as a physical therapy practitioner as well. Having a strong knowledge of music history, techniques, and practices will allow me to connect on a deeper level with my patients. As a student in applied lessons, I found that learning an instrument requires an understanding of the physicality of playing. Every week I worked on repositioning my body and focusing on my breathing, which allowed me to play stronger and use my muscles more efficiently while playing. This technique enabled me to release tension in parts of my body that had tightened up in the process of playing. Working on this not only helped me understand my body more, but will help me when I'm teaching patients how to release tension in their body as well. The physicality of instrument playing is a piece of knowledge specific to the music minor that I will take with me in my life and my career. In addition to this, music can be used in rehabilitation to stimulate or motivate patients, as well as make them feel more comfortable. Having knowledge of all genres of music will allow me to connect with patients who may have a different background than me. Not only will I be able to understand and talk to my patients about their backgrounds, I'll be able to turn on the music that they like in the clinic to make them feel more comfortable during rehabilitation. Music may stimulate patients to get up and move, even when they're feeling nervous or run down, and I can even incorporate it into their exercises and let them have fun during treatment, which is one of my top goals as a physical therapist. So thank you and enjoy.
Thank you so much, guys. It's an honor to play for you. Let me know if you have any questions.
You did a wonderful job, Chloe, of explaining the piece going in, and I was very interested in your description of how you use your hands differently and the pedal. So, as someone who doesn't have a great deal of musical ability, I found that really fascinating. So, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to emphasize like that being a pianist is much more than just playing the notes. Like there's so much that goes into even a slow and kind of soft piece like that is how much pressure I'm putting on the keys and what I'm doing with my feet during that. So I'm really using all 4 limbs of my body almost in that.
Yeah.
I have a question. So while you're performing, are you thinking about anything in particular?
That's a great question. Thanks, Cynthia. I am. Sometimes my mind can go away and I'll be thinking about, oh, what should I have for dinner? But specifically during that piece, I think it was really important for me to stay on topic, right? This piece is about death, and I think Cynthia's really resonated with me because there is this kind of theme about death this entire year. We've been so exposed to it, and the least I could do is try and express a piece that can make death a little less scary, like a little more peaceful. And I think that whole time I was really focusing on, am I expressing in a way that can get this story across to the audience?
Thank you.
Of course.
Oh, we got a
I
couple
just
more
wanted
hands.
to, can I?
Yep, Nicole, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to commend you on the parts in the piece that slow down, the part, about 3/4 and then the end as well. When a piece has that sort of rolling rhythm, there's that subtlety of, does the slowing down sound mechanical or does it actually create more breathing room? And you did that really beautifully.
Thank you so much. Nicole?
I was just really intrigued by your description of intention and how you found the composer's intention and then combined it with your own, especially with nonverbal arts. It's so interesting to find and discover that intention both as the artist communicating it and as an audience member receiving it. So I was just intrigued by that journey that you described.
Thank you.
Well, that was just fabulous. So round of applause for Chloe. Shall we move on to our next presenter? Justine, I believe you're up, right?
Yes, thank you, Marianne. And thanks everyone. And Matt, I just want to give a shout out to Matt for all your lead organizing for Scholars in Action Week, virtual nonetheless. So my name's Justine Diamond. I'm a faculty member in literature writing and journalism, and I have the great privilege and honor to serve as the faculty advisor to our campus literary magazine, the Alden Street Review, which comes out once a year during Scholars in Action Week. And we are about to put it to bed, about to send it to the printer. And once again, we are producing an issue under COVID restrictions. Last March, when we went into lockdown, was right at the height of our production schedule. And so we've had to adapt like many others have here today. So it's also, we're seeing some trends and topics, this sort of theme that's already begun here around loss. And we're gonna hear it again in some of the writing that we're going to share with you today. So I want to thank everyone who submitted their work, their writing, their art to the Alden Street Review. We consider submissions from anyone connected to the Springfield College, the college itself, so students, staff, and faculty, and our deadline is February 1st. So our next issue deadline is February 1st, 2022. And I also want to thank the on-street review contributors who volunteered to launch our new issue today at Scholars in Action, and to celebrate this new issue and to give you all a sneak peek at what's to come when you have the actual issue in your hand. So we're going to have two groups of readers, and in the first group, and I'll introduce each group, and then the readers will go in the order that I've introduced them. And if you could please show your love and show your gratitude with, yes, the reactions after each reader with an applause or suitable reaction, that I'm sure will be much appreciated by our writers. And then after the second group reads, we'll open it up to Q&A for those folks who have questions. So our first group of three writers is Mary Kate Pestana, who is a senior in the Physician Assistance Program, and she will be reading a poem. And then Christy Connolly, who graduated, got her undergraduate degree last year and now is currently a graduate student in the Clinical Mental Health Counseling Program. And then our third reader is Kayla, and Christy will be reading a poem as well. And then our third reader is Kayla Franco, who is a junior double major in English and elementary ed and special education. And she will be reading an excerpt from a longer short story. And the hope is that you'll be so intrigued, you'll want to hear what happens, and you will go looking for the issue when it arrives. So take it away, Mary Kate.
Hi, everyone. Do you want me to share my screen with it?
You don't have to, but if you...
Okay, I can just read it then. So to preface this, I did write this last spring. So kind of just when the pandemic was starting, that's why it probably taken this spring would be a little bit out of context, but the piece is called The Fall. I miss sunny days when the rain wouldn't fall, when clouds weren't looming, when crisp leaves would flutter to the ground, when times were simple, when we were all together, when a breeze blew and long were the days, when laughs were endless, when I could come and go as I pleased, when times were simple, when we were all together. I miss the fall, when things were so easy, when a mask wasn't needed, when death tolls weren't news headlines. Take me back to the fall. Those were better days.
Thank you, Mary Kate.
Thank you.
Chrissy. Is Christy still here? I saw her on the... Oh, maybe Christy's not here anymore. So why don't we move to Kayla, and then maybe Christy will show back up.
So just like the previous story, mine takes place towards the beginning of the pandemic. To whom it may concern. I've never done anything like this before, so I'm kind of nervous. I'm not the kind of person that normally goes and sends messages to strangers on the internet because some computer says that we are compatible. You see, I only downloaded this app because my roommate bought me a membership for Christmas. Apparently, I have a problem with letting people into my life, and she thought that this would be a good way to work on that problem. I promised her that I would give this a fair shot, but I have to be honest. When I saw that I was matched with someone so quickly, I panicked. I don't know how I feel about this whole situation. I mean, some computer program looks at questions that we answered and then determines that we are compatible just through which box we checked. And then we don't even get any information about each other before we are just thrust into a conversation. Is it just me, or is that kind of crazy? I feel like I'm rambling on. I apologize. You probably don't care about any of this, so I'll just give you the basic stuff. I'm a 23-year-old woman from Florida. I work as a barista at the moment, but my goal is to make music. I write my own songs in case you were wondering, or I at least try to. I'm currently going through some writer's block and can't find any musical inspiration. But anyways, I live with my roommate named Alice. She is my best friend, but I am always open to the possibility of new friends if you are interested. Ask me anything except for my name, which I hope you can understand will be kept private. I have a hard time trusting people, so if I want to tell you about my life and all these personal details, I don't want you to know my name and be able to find me. I guess that is paranoia, but it is my only condition if we are to have any form of communication. You can call me M for mystery. I will be anxiously awaiting your response. Sincerely, M. January 15th. Dear M, I must say that your message brought a smile to my face. Though we do not know one another yet, I can tell that I am going to enjoy having you in my life. I am also new to this whole concept of finding friends online, but I am willing to try if you are. You see, I am actually a very shy person who does not usually thrive socially. Maybe we could help each other out with this. Now for as you call the basics. I'm a 25-year-old man who lives in Georgia. I work as a paramedic and love every minute of it. The fact that I get to help so many people in my everyday life is truly a blessing. There is so much that I want to know about you, your past, your future, all the things that make you who you are. I understand that might be a lot to ask when we have just met, so I will start with 3 simple questions. How was your day? What is your favorite movie? And if you could have one wish, what would it be? As for your request not to share names, I can definitely respect that, and I promise not to pressure you in any way regards to this information. In the spirit of mystery, I will take a page from your book and remain anonymous. You can call me C for curiosity. I'll be anxiously awaiting your reply. Sincerely, C. January 20th. Dear C, thank you for your kind and understanding words. I would also very much like it if we could be friends. As for your questions, I feel like there is a deeper meaning behind them. What will my answers say about me? At the same time, what would your answers to the same questions say about you? I will answer them, but I hope that you will also answer them in return. My favorite movie is Little Women. I first saw it when I was a child and have been obsessed ever since. I know that you didn't ask this, but it is also my favorite book. I had a copy years ago, but I somehow lost it when I moved. If I could wish for anything, I would wish for a world that is less filled with hate and deceit, a world in which we go around taking care of everyone and we remember the power of community. The world that we currently live in is so false and dirty. I mean, have you heard the rumors about this virus in China? People are dying over there, and they say that it will be coming here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. And yeah, so we'll move to another group and then the final group at the end.
Do I hand this back over to Martin? Is that next?
All right, yes, and we'll look forward to having some time with these authors after the second group. That'll be great. Thank you for those readings. Well, we just, the Springfield College Theater just completed a run of a production this past weekend of Tartuffe the Hypocrite by Molière. And it was quite a lot of fun. We're going to show you a recording of a clip of some scenes that had happened fairly early in the play. So let's see, Orgon's the father, just to give you some story so you know what you're getting into here. Orgon is the father of a well-to-do family with a very fine estate in Paris. Now, Orgon's going to be played by Jacques St. Jean, who's here, I believe, yes, somewhere. Now, Orgon's first wife has died, leaving him with 2 grown children, and he's since remarried a much younger woman. His young wife, Elmire, gets along just fine with the kids, but Orgon's gotten a little bit concerned that maybe he's lost a little control over the family and the household. Maybe there's a little too much partying going on, too much socializing. So he's, well, what's happened is Orgon has become captivated by a holy man who's named Tartuffe. This holy man seems to him to be very saintly and pious. Tartuffe makes a big show about being very poor and humble and very self-sacrificing. Well, Orgon brings Tartuffe into the home and feeds him and clothes him and gives him care, and hoping that he's going to bring some kind of religious order and restraint to his family. Now, Orgon's daughter, Marianne, played by Emily Tonin, who's also here. Emily, somewhere? Yes, there, I see you. This character, Marianne, is engaged to be married to the honorable young man, Valère, with her father's blessing. But now Orgon has decided that he wants to give his daughter as a wife to Tartuffe. Now, Tartuffe's a much older and frankly, not a very appealing man. And, but Orgon wants to do this to have Tartuffe allied by marriage to the family. So this is a disastrous decision, of course, and it triggers all of the comic calamity that follows in this very brilliant and funny play. So the scene is going to begin with Orgon calling Marianne to join him in a private conference. He begins to check around for spies, most notably for Doreen, That's played by Lily Gould. Doreen is Marianne's lady's maid, and she's a very brassy and pushy kind of servant and always ready to interfere. So when you see the beginning of the video, you'll see a little toy theater introduction with puppets enacting the entrances of the characters, and then it should dissolve to the characters taking over the scene. And I guess Matt will let you share the video and see whether, how smoothly it runs. Sometimes these scenes get a little jerky, but hopefully clear enough for you to enjoy the story, and then you can meet with the actors afterwards.
Martin, let me know if you think I should stop it, and I'll post the link. Okay.
Marianne? Marianne?
Yes, Father?
A word with you. Come here.
What are you looking for?
Eavesdroppers, dear. Making sure we shan't be overheard. Someone in there could catch our every word. Oh, good. We're safe. Now, Marianne, my child, you're a sweet girl who's tractable and mild, whom I hold dear and think most highly of.
I'm deeply grateful, Father, for your love.
That's well said, daughter. And you can repay me if in all things you'll cheerfully obey me.
To please you, sir, is what delights me best.
Oh, good, good. Now, what do you think of Tartuffe, our guest?
I, sir?
Yes, weigh your answer, think it through.
Oh, dear, I'll say whatever you wish me to.
That's wisely said, my daughter. Say of him, then, that he's the very worthiest of men, and that you're fond of him and would rejoice in being his wife, if that should be my choice. Well?
What?
What's that? Well?
Forgive me, pray.
Did you not hear me?
Of whom, sir, must I say that I am fond of him and would rejoice in being his wife? That should be your choice?
Why, of Tartuffe.
But, Father, that's false. You know. Why would you have me say what isn't so?
Because I am resolved it shall be true. That it's my wish should be enough for you.
You can't mean, Father.
Yes. Tartuffe shall be allied by marriage to this family, and he's to be your husband. Is that clear? I mean, it's a father's privilege to... What are you doing in here? Is curiosity so fierce a passion with you that you must eavesdrop in this fashion?
There's lately been this rumor going about, based on some hunch or chance remark, no doubt, that you mean Marianne to wed Tartuffe. I've laughed it off, of course, it's just a spoof.
You find it so incredible?
Yes, I do. I would accept that story, even if you do.
Well, you'll believe it when the thing is done.
Yes, of course. Go on, have your fun.
I've never been more serious in my life. Daughter, I mean it. You're to be his wife.
No, don't believe your father. It's all a hoax.
See here, young woman.
Sir, no more jokes. You can't fool us.
How dare you talk that way?
All right then. Believe you. Sad to say, but how a man who looks so wise and wears a mustache of such splendid size can be so foolish.
Silence, please. My girl, you take too many liberties. I'm master here, as you must not forget.
Do? Let's discuss this calmly. Don't be upset. You can't be serious, sir, about this plan. What should that bigot want with Marianne? Praying and fasting ought to keep him busy. And then, in terms of wealth and rank, what is he? Why should a man of property like you beget a beggar son-in-law?
That will do. Speak of his poverty with reverence. His is a pure and saintly indigence, which far transcends all worldly pride and pelf. He lost his fortune, as he says himself, because he cared for heaven alone, and so was careless of his interests here below. I mean to get him out of his present straits and help him to recover his estates, which in his part of the world have no small fame. Poor though he is, he's a gentleman just the same.
Doesn't it seem to you a trifle grim to give a girl like her to a man like him? When two are so ill-suited, can't you see what the sad consequences found to be? A young girl's virtue is imperiled, sir, when such a marriage is imposed on her. For if one's bridegroom isn't to one's taste, it's hardly an inducement to be chaste. And many a man with horns upon his brow has made his wife the thing she is now. It's hard to be a faithful wife, in short, to certain husbands of a certain sort. And he who gives his daughter to the man she hates must answer for her sins at heaven's gates. Think, sir, before you play so risky a role.
This servant girl presumes to save my soul.
You would do well to ponder what I've said.
Daughter, we'll disregard this dunder. Just trust your father's judgment. Oh, I'm aware that I once promised you to young Valere, but now I hear he gambles, which greatly shocks me. And what's more, I have doubts about his orthodoxy. Visits to church, I note, are very few.
Would you have him go at the same hours as you and kneel nearby to be sure of being seen?
I can dispense with such remarks, Doreen. Tartuffe, however, is sure of heaven's blessing, and that is the only treasure worth possessing. This match will bring you joys beyond all measure. Your cup will overflow with every pleasure. You two will interchange your faithful loves like two sweet cherubs or two turtle doves. No harsh word shall be heard and no frown be seen, and he shall make you happy as a queen.
And she'll make him a cuckold. Just wait and see.
Don't interrupt me further. Why can't you learn that certain things are none of your concern?
It's for your own sake that I interfere.
Most kind of you. Now hold your tongue, do you hear?
If I didn't love you,
spare me your affection.
I'll love you, sir, in spite of your objection.
Blast!
I can't bear, sir, for your honor's sake, to let you make this ludicrous mistake.
You mean?
If I didn't protest this sinful marriage, my conscience couldn't rest.
Oh, if you don't hold your tongue, you little shrew, I'll...
Lost your temper? A pious man like you?
Yes, you talk and I'm maddened by it. Once and for all, I tell you.
Seems like we've frozen here.
Bossy tongue of yours, or I'll... Daughter, I have weighed this matter fully.
Drives me wild that I can't speak.
Tartuffe is no young dandy, but still his person...
As sweet as candy.
In such that, even if you shouldn't care for his other merits...
They'll make a lovely pair. If I were she, no man would marry me against my inclination and go scot-free. He'd learn before the wedding day was over how readily a wife can find a lover.
It seems you treat my orders as a joke.
What? What's the matter? It was not to you I spoke.
What were you doing?
Talking to myself, that's all.
One more bit of impudence and gall, and I shall give her a good slap in the face. Daughter, you shall accept, and with good grace, the husband I've selected. Your wedding day is... Why don't you talk to yourself?
I have nothing to say.
Come, just one word.
No, thank you, sir. I pass.
Come, speak. I'm waiting.
I'm not such an ass.
In short, dear daughter, I mean to be obeyed, and you must bow to the sound choice I've made.
I've not wed such a monster, even in jest.
daughter, that maid of yours is a thorough pest. She makes me sinfully annoyed and nettled. I can't speak further. My nerves are too unsettled. She's so upset me by her insolent talk. I'll calm myself by going for a walk.
Well, have you lost your tongue, girl? Must I play your part and say the lines you ought to say? Faced with a fate so hideous and absurd, can you not utter one dissenting word?
What good would it do? Father's power is great.
Resist him now or it'll be too late.
But
tell him one cannot love at a father's whim that you shall marry for yourself, not him. That since it's you who are to be the bride, it's you, not he, who must be satisfied. And that if his Tartuffe is so sublime, he's free to marry him at any time.
I bowed so long to father's strict control. I couldn't oppose him now to save my soul.
Come, Marianne. Do listen to reason, won't you? Valere has asked your hand. Do you love him or don't you?
How unjust of you! What can you mean by asking such a question, dear Doreen? You know the depth of my affection for him. I've told you 100 times how I adore him.
I don't believe in everything I hear. Who knows if your professions were sincere?
They were, Doreen, and you do me wrong to doubt it. Heaven knows that I've been all too frank about it.
You love him, then?
More than I can express.
And he, I take it, cares for you no less?
I think so.
And you both, with equal fire, burn to be married?
That is our one desire.
What of Tartuffe, then? What of your father's plan?
I'll kill myself if I'm forced to wed that man.
I hadn't thought of that recourse. How splendid! Just die and all your troubles will be ended. Fine solution. Oh, it maddens me to you talking that self-pitying key.
Doreen, how harsh you are. It's most unfair. You have no sympathy for my despair.
I've none at all for people who talk dribble and faced with difficulties whine and snivel.
No doubt I'm timid, but it would be wrong.
Love requires a heart that's firm and strong.
I'm strong in my affection for Valere, but coping with my father is his affair.
But if your father's brain has grown so cracked over his dear Tartuffe, then he can retract his blessing. Though your wedding day was named, it's surely not Valere to be blamed.
If I defied my father as you suggest, would it not seem unmaidenly at best? Shall I defend my love at the expense of brazenness and disobedience? Shall I parade my heart's desires and flaunt?
I ask nothing of you. Clearly, you want to be Madame Tartuffe, and I feel bound not to oppose a wish so very sound. What right have I to criticize the match? Indeed, my dear, the man's a brilliant catch. Monsieur Tartuffe, now there's a man of weight. Yes, Monsieur Tartuffe, I'm bound to say, is quite a person. That's not to be denied. She'll be no little thing to be his bride. The world has already rings with his renown. He's a great noble. In his native town, his ears are red, he has a pink complexion, and all in all, he'll suit you to perfection. Dear God! Oh, how triumphant you will feel at having caught a husband so ideal.
Oh, do stop teasing and use your cleverness to get me out of this appalling mess.
Thank you all. So let's invite Emily and Jack and Lily to put their microphones on and respond to any questions or comments folks might have. It was a little jerky. I think it ran more smoothly when we were doing our webinar of the show, but I think you got the idea.
Hi, Justine.
Hi. Thank you. I mean, this was, I got to see this Friday night, and oh my God, it's so much fun. I mean, it's from the audience's perspective, and that probably was my favorite scene. Such incredible acting. But I've talked a little bit with Martin about the process from his side of things, but I want to hear from the actors. What was this like? I mean, to do this not on a, traditional stage, but to do it in this very innovative, creative, out of the box way.
Yeah, it's very different and unlike anything else. Like in regards to myself, Emily, and Lily, I'm the only actor among them that has had experience on the stage here at Springfield. So to sort of transition into this virtual world is very, very different. I find myself surprised even now after just watching that again, because when you're on a stage and when you're performing it physically, as you go through the process of rehearsing and line memorization and getting cues together and moving around, you sort of start to see the production unfold before you. But in here, everything's kind of all over the place, so we had to pretty much prepare everything 2 weeks early. And then once we had sort of everything down, we recorded the scenes we had to record with our other fellow actors. And then, pretty much practiced our live scenes up until the night of our opening night, and then continued that through each performance. So, it's kind of like we didn't really get to see the full performance in its entirety until the night of the play, which was really interesting. And now, I sort of see it. And, we sometimes struggle, as we did this time, to get enough people to fill a cast. But this was the production was beautifully cast, having Lily as the maid and Emily as my daughter. I think it was really, really well done.
Yes, I have no experience of acting on a stage, so I'm very new to the acting process. Last semester was my first play ever with Witch, so I'm pretty seasoned over Zoom, I guess is what you'd say. But I've never seen that scene myself. Like I obviously I was doing it live, but I've never seen like it playback. So it was fun for me to watch and like laugh myself. That was pretty silly. But even like the eye level, like the little things as the eye level, I've never seen that. Thank God my little sticky notes on the wall held up. So I wasn't looking at my computer because it's my computer. I was looking over here to Jacques. So even seeing that little details like that build up, it's really cool. So thanks for watching.
Justine, I just wanted to check in. We have about 15 minutes left, so I want to make sure we leave enough time for the final 3 readers.
Yes, and we have Chrissy back, so that's good. And we will still only have 3 readers because Amy had a work conflict in the end. So yeah, so did you want to do this next part then now?
I guess I just wanted to jump in and say that I absolutely love Bunny's comment in the chat about you can almost hear, for those of us that have been in the theater, you can almost hear those spots where the audience would have like just started laughing, and you can hear it in your head. So thank you so much for that image. That was really helpful. So thank you so much. And Emily, I don't know if you want to add anything before we switch.
Well, like Lily said, I don't really have any acting experience, and especially not on a stage. And there are little Zoom things that you don't think about. So when I'm crying, it helps me to like make noise to kind of make it more real and get into it. But it cuts off other people's audio. So that's interesting. And so it like cuts in and out. But yeah, I had a great time and I learned a lot. And I still felt really connected to the actors and to the story, so that didn't go away. which I was happy about. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank
I would
you,
also like to add
everybody.
that
Awesome.
this was a little helpful, having a little sidebar to see everyone's screens and kind of see them smile and laugh at the scenes was helpful, because we didn't get to see that in the webinar or hear it or anything. So it's kind of like, I think Emily had said in one of the Q&As that during rehearsal, when we would rehearse this, Martin would laugh at every joke we threw at him. So, kind of having that in our heads is what's getting us.
Great. Why don't we switch back to Justine?
Thanks, Marianne. And I just can't believe, Lily and Emily, you don't have acting experience, so that's incredible. You're very talented. And I also want to add as introduction to this next group of readers that we have 2 members of our editorial board reading their work along with Christy. One of them is Joe Rotundo, who's here, who's on the editorial board, and then Bunny Halloran, who is here and going to be reading or talking about her work. But also Emily Totting is on our editorial board. So if Emily's up to it at the up to it at the Q&A, maybe you'd be interested in fielding some questions about being on the board. So our next group of readers is Christy Connolly, who I mentioned before is a graduate student in clinical mental health counseling, and she'll be reading a poem. And then we have Joe, and Rowan is also here. Thank you, Bunny, for letting me know, who is also a member of the editorial board. And then we will have Joe Rotundo, who's a junior English major, and he'll be reading an excerpt from a short story, fictional short story. And then, as I mentioned, Bunny Halloran is here, who not only is on the editorial board, but also did the layout for our magazine this year. Thank you, Bunny. And she also is our debut comics author. So her piece is an excerpt from a graphic novel. And so we'll start with Chrissy.
I just wanted to say that this has been amazing. That was so fun to watch. So great job to the actors there. And thank you so much for all of the work that you guys are doing. It keeps the energy alive during a time that's very difficult. So thank you. And this is my piece called The Journey Upward. Glistening white powder beautifully obstructs my vision. Crunch, crunch, crunching beneath my boots. Footprints, like a map, leading those behind me to the whistling wind atop the mountain. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Joe, you're next.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is an excerpt from my short story. It's called Acrophobia, and I'll just go. I have long been possessed by a deathly fear of heights and high places. While I'm sure that I'm not alone in this sentiment, I can say with utter confidence that there are none who share my reasons. For if there were, I fear that the vast expanse of human knowledge regarding life as we know it would be eviscerated, and mankind as a whole would find extinction preferable than survival in possession of such cursed information. Regardless, though in the best of circumstances I will be thought mad, and in the worst I will bring about the destruction of humanity, or at the very least human sanity, I can no longer bear to keep the unholy and indescribable horror which has for so long gripped me a secret. Most who endure my condition, commonly referred to as acrophobia, though in truth my fear is not so easily given such substance, suffer so because of their fear of a rapid return to the firmament from whence they came, as they would, in all probability, become a red smear indistinguishable from the soil itself upon impact. I feel a certain morbid pleasure in quoting the following. We therefore commit this body to the ground, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Acrophobia in its base form is, of course, a reasonable fear, and as such, I do not scoff at those who are caught in its grip. However, if those individuals who suffer from it were made aware of what, precisely, shared their airspace whilst high above the ground, be it in an airplane or a skyscraper, it's certain they would eagerly fling themselves to the earth and their merciful demise, rather than remain in the presence of the nameless terrors which haunt our atmosphere. Perhaps it would be best to tell the origin of my phobia and the reason for which I scarcely dare to look upward, save for when there's a roof over my head. My family has a heavy background in the military, particularly in flight and air combat. My grandfather served in the Great War as a reconnaissance pilot, and my father followed in his footsteps with his aerial exploits in the Second World War. Growing up, there are legends constantly in my ear. It seemed as though my future was predestined. I joined the Air Force in 1957 and worked hard to live up to my heritage. I was moderately successful at this, rose quickly through the ranks, and in 1961 was entrusted to test out a new type of flight suit, specifically engineered to allow flight at higher altitudes than ever before in the history of humanity. The suit itself looked no different than any other one I had worn in my years of flying, but I assumed that the improvements which set it apart from its predecessors were below the surface. Eager to begin my task, I slid into the cockpit of my F-4. Yes, my F-4, or as the boys in my squadron called her, the Icarus. A true thing of beauty, with the white and burgundy paint job specially commissioned by myself, and illustrations of feathers on her wings, harkening back to the old tale, a prize earned for my prowess and as a reward for my high ranking. Far too precious to risk in a dogfight, I only flew her in non-combat situations such as this. I gazed up at the deep blue of the sky and noted the unusual shapes the clouds made as they sailed across it, swirling and turning this way and that as a ship through a stormy ocean. I peeked out my window and saw my commanding officer standing by with a clipboard, ready to give the order to commence the testing process. At the wave of his hand, I flashed a quick thumbs up, flipped switches, turned knobs, pressed buttons, and took off without any further encouragement. I soared eagerly up toward the troposphere, gazing through my cockpit window at the swiftly shrinking airfield below. I flew higher and higher, and the suit hummed around me as it integrated with the pressurization settings of my cockpit. As I burst through the cloud layer, my elation mounted alongside me, seeming to correspond with my altitude.
Thank you, Joe. And yes, you can pick up, when it's out, the new Alden Street Review will have the rest of that story for you to read. So last but not least is Bunny.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here today. Yeah, as the layout editor for the Alden Street Review, so I'm basically putting everything together. I have seen all these stories multiple times, and it is such an honor to see all the people who have been accepted. Please look forward to the rest of these submissions, including the rest of Joe's submission and the rest of Kayla's submission. They're just really incredible, blow me away. So please make sure to pick up a copy when it's out. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys, if I'm able to screen share, if the host wants to give me screen sharing rights. I'm going to be screen sharing an excerpt of my graphic novel / webcomic that I've been working on. I'm an independent comic book artist, and I've been practicing for quite a few years now, but I've never done something outwardly like this before. So this has been going on since July. Alden Street Review has never had a graphic novel or comic book submission before, so I'm apparently the first. So I will start sharing that with you now. Can everybody see it okay? Just want to give me a thumbs up? Yep, thumbs up. Fantastic. Okay, so my comic, it's a little awkward to read a comic aloud, so I'm just gonna kind of like walk you through what's happening in the scene. So I'm gonna read the excerpt aloud, the introduction of what the comic is about. So the setting is this. As the earth lies dormant in slumber, another world is generated through its dreams, the dream world. Not everyone can lucidly traverse the dream world, even if they manage to enter it. Those who can are called the dreamsmiths, the protectors of sleeping life. Micah, the main character of the comic, is an anomaly among dreamsmiths. Returning from death to a world he has no memory of, he must survive each night in the world that wanted him to remain gone permanently. And the title of this comic is called Chasing a Starlight. So in the scene, we're a little past the intro. Micah has just been joined by these two strangers named Taylor and Lewis in a fight against these scary creatures called the Nulmoir that have appeared in the dream world. Micah has passed out right before this scene, and when he reawakens in the dream world, he comes to realize that he is able to manipulate water with his mind. He has hydrokinesis. He comes to find that these other characters, who are dreamsmiths, the protectors of sleeping life, also have powers and have come to his aid. One of the strangers, however, has been injured in this fight, Taylor, and he understands that after a fight with these Nulmoir, more terrible creatures come, and he begs his younger brother, Lewis, to take Micah away from this scene before things can go badly. So basically, Micah argues and says, no, I can fight. I want to fight. I want to find out why I'm attached to this world, and why it's brought me here. And in this, he also realizes that he's gotten a really odd vibe off of Taylor. He doesn't know why. He's never met this man before, or so he thinks, but he has no memories of him. As the conversation goes on and Micah becomes more confident about the whole situation and is like, listen, even as an enemy is approaching, I will help you fight. Taylor brings up a little piece of information that makes Micah realize he has met Taylor before. Now, as I said, Micah has awoken from death in the dream world as somebody without any memories. And he thought that these memories just were taken from him as a result of death. He thought something took his memories. But it is revealed that someone took his memories. And as his world collapses into a hallucination, he realizes from his last shred of memory he does have exactly how he knows Taylor and why he knows Taylor. And it is because Taylor is the one who took his memories and removed him from the dream world. So that is the excerpt of this scene. Chasing a Starlight is available on Webtoon. I will post the link for you guys if you'd like to see it. So I see we have a few Webtoon readers here. It's a comic about a lot of grief and psychological horror. It also has really strong LGBTQ plus representation of many minority populations, such as people of color, disabled populations, neurodivergent populations, etc. So it's very much an all-around representation comic, just about dreams and identity and memory and grief and loss and a lot of very deep topics. So I hope you will all look forward to reading it in the Alden Street Review, and please subscribe on Webtoon if you're able. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bunny. And I realized I forgot to introduce you that you're a senior art therapy major. And you're entering the art therapy grad program. So yay, we get to keep her for longer. So I know we're at time, but do we have maybe a couple of minutes for the writers and the editors for questions? Okay, I got a nod from Matt. So yeah, so Rowan and Emily, please feel free to join in the Q&A. Also two editors. I can't see everyone, so I don't know. Matt, can you call on folks if they raise their hand or?
Just go ahead
Sure.
and jump in the conversation.
Yeah, if you have a question, just go ahead and speak up.
Well, I guess I'll just comment. Joel, I think your story has a lovely start. It kind of reminded me of Poe. Maybe, are you a fan of Poe, Edgar Allan?
Yeah, I'm a really big fan, actually. I like Edgar Allan Poe and I like H.P. Lovecraft, so I try and emulate their style in my writing.
Very, very lovely beginning.
Just beautiful artistry throughout this whole session, you know, from the dancers to the writers to the theater performance to the music. Wow, what a great session. I'm so energized from all the energy that was here today, and just want to thank everybody on behalf of all the hard work, because, oh my God, with everything else you have going on, and you all put this extra effort into your creative souls, which I'm sure helped nurture you through this process. So it's just really exciting and really wonderful to see. And I hope that you all got as much energy out of this today as I did. And so really, really kudos to everyone today. Anybody else want to help wrap us up with some great words or kudos to their colleagues? Well, thank you all so much for being here today. Let's all make sure we give a big heart emoji, a big thank you emoji, a big applause emoji as we leave today. And thank you so much for everything, everybody. What a wonderful, wonderful session.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Bye.